Hello everyone. My name is Hunter, and this is a review of The Mandalorian Season 3, Chapter 19. Now, this episode starts off where we left off in Chapter 18, with The Mandalorian and Bo-Katan and Grogu leaving the planet of Mandalore after they apparently both bathed in the waters. Um, I didn't really consider them falling into the water bathing, but apparently that counted. Uh, so they're going back to Bo-Katan's home until they get intercepted by some TIE interceptors, and the TIEs destroy Bo-Katan's home. I gotta applaud this show because like their space dogfight sequences look really impressive. They look like they're coming from a movie. Like I really love the special effects with all the space fights. But besides that, that's the beginning of the episode. And then we don't really see the Mandalorian at all until the very end. For about 45 minutes in this episode, we spend all of it looking at a character that we've seen in the past two seasons. His name is, I gotta look it up real quick because I keep forgetting his name. His name is Dr. Pin Pershing. He was in the last two seasons. I remember his face, I just didn't remember his name when I watched it. So, Dr. Pin Pershing was one of Moff Gideon's henchmen. He was like the chief scientist of Moff Gideon's, group. Um and so, once Moff Gideon was defeated, now he is part of the New Republic, which is, the good guys of the Star Wars galaxy at the time. He's having a little bit of trouble adjusting to all of this. Um he wants to continue his work that he's doing for the Empire because he thinks that that will be helpful to the New Republic. He thinks he can turn it into a way that can be helpful, and he wants to be successful. He wants to make great things. He's a scientist. It's hard to expect him not to. And then he meets a friend named Elia Kane, who is also under Moff Gideon, but they really have never met. The New Republic doesn't want Penn working on this stuff, but Elia Kane kind of convinces him that, hey, this is better for the New Republic. We have to do this. So they leave to go get some supplies from an old Star Destroyer. That's Empire Star Destroyer. And I've got to say that this entire sequence, I wasn't very interested in it. Everything with Dr. Penn Pershing and Elia Kane, which was like the main characters of this episode, I didn't find all that interesting. The only thing that really saved it for me was Coruscant itself. It was really cool to see Coruscant like on the ground level because this is where it takes place. This is Coruscant is like the headquarters of the New Republic. So this is where this entire thing takes place. Um so yeah, I didn't find it all that interesting going through their story. I thought a lot of it was very cliche, but yeah, Coruscant helped with the you can see all these aliens walking around. There was one spot in the episode where they visited a park, and like in the center of the park was the tallest peak of Coruscant, the actual planet, because Coruscant is in this the city is in the sky, like way in the sky above the clouds. And so in this park is the tallest point on the actual planet, and you can see like the top of the mountain, the very top of the mountain, which is really cool looking. But yeah, Coruscant I think really helped elevate this entire plot here. Uh, but that was until the end, because the twist at the end I think really saved this episode for me. Um, so she turns on him and rats him out for getting all these supplies, even though she was the one who came up with the idea. And so the New Republic puts him through a mind wiping machine, and they're only going to wipe some parts of the Empire from his brain. But then, as soon as everyone leaves, Elia Kane decides to turn up the dial and completely destroy his memory. I guess we don't really know what the repercussions are of that yet. But I found that to be very interesting. So apparently, Elia Kane is pretty bad. But yeah, that was the only interesting part of their entire storyline I found. I think if we knew how this pertained to the Mandalorian story, like before we watched the entire thing, I think it would have been a lot better. Um, because it didn't feel like we were continuing any story. I felt like we were getting an entirely new story here. But yeah, I think the ending saved it. The ending in Coruscant helped it, but not all that much. But at the very end of the episode, we see the Mandalorian and Bo-Katan. They reach the other Mandalorians, the survivor Mandalorians. Uh, and so the Mandalorian Din Djarin gives proof to the other Mandalorians that he has bathed in the waters in the salt mines of Mandalore. And then apparently they find out that Bo Katan has too, and she hasn't taken her helmet off since then. So now she is actually part of the Mandalorian Creed. And so that's where we end the episode. We get one little part of the Mandalorian at the beginning, one little part of the Mandalorian at the end, and then we get this entire new storyline from a villain that we saw last two seasons. So, what did I think of this episode? I think a lot of points it was kind of dull. Um, but it had a lot of strong points too. So I'm go I'm gonna have to give it probably this is gonna sound a little harsh, I think, but I'm gonna give it a 55. It was I found it kind of boring, which I think a 5 is boring, but I think a lot of elements pulled it up a little bit to give it that 5 more points. But I do thank you for watching this video. I would appreciate if you subscribed, it'd really help me out. And goodbye.